Okay, Shawn, thank you so much for joining us again. I am really excited to have you because, as we discussed last time, you have a lot of experience working side by side, living, playing sports, and teaching men. And one of the things that we've been talking about is how to control our anger and how to not get into a physical fight when you feel embarrassed or angry or disrespected. And you were telling me a little bit about how you've taught that to boys and how you've done that yourself. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, thanks, Jill. I mean, again, working in schools, particularly all boys schools and, male dominated, areas to sport, we love to do things through the physical. So it's macho, chest pumping, pushing, shoving, that's the level of upbringing that we actually see and is displayed. And therefore, when it comes to conflict and conflict resolution, that becomes our first option to demise or minimize a situation in which we are uncomfortable with or we dislike. And you're going through childhood, it's normally a push or a shove or face-to-face stuff, a lot of words being told. But again, as you get older, you understand that there's other mechanisms and methods in which we can actually come up with the same resolution.
So how do we teach people to think in a way about how to find a different resolution when the insides of your body are on fire and you're angry? And, you were taught at home that if somebody disrespects you, you take care of it physically.
Well, I'm going to give you an analogy which probably may work well. Is let's assume that one person understands love and knows about love and the feelings of love, and the other person doesn't know the languages of love and doesn't really know love. How does a person who has love express that other person who doesn't? It's a communication thing, right? So when I've done the research, there's a number of different programs that exist that teach boys about how to deal with emotions, because all about the emotional components of boys, and you barrage it with a whole lot of different factors, which is the physicality versus the emotional and the communication. So one program which I thought was quite great in terms of working with the young boys was a Rock and Water program, which came out, I think, Sweden developed. And this program offers teachers and obviously students and parents a way to interact with boys through the physical and social teaching. The program, can be utilized through physical exercises, which teaches boys how to deal with their strength and utilize their strength, but also learn how to, navigate through the emotional settings by being more passive than aggressive.
Okay.
And so the program does that.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about, because obviously this is a program that you have to be trained in doing, and we're not going to be able to do that on a video, but tell me a little bit about what the idea of Rock and Water is.
Well, it's a framework, basically. So the framework exists in terms of a means by which boys, move through manhood and assist them becoming aware of the things and challenges in life. All right. So again, it's talking about, now let's look at the rock and the water in the sense. From a physical standpoint, the rock is a very rigid and structured item in a sense. It has fixed size or shapes and is very rigid. The water is a bit softer and malleable. It kind of fills a container. So the rock sits on the outside and the water is over-encompassing, right? So in terms of the analogy of rock and water, if my rock, again, is that most important factor in my life, life, support from my family, essentials, then I'll die for hunger. I die to survive in a sense.
Okay, so your rock are basically the things that are most important to you, things that you would be willing to die for.
That's correct.
And so, so some of the boys I've done this example with, and they talked about the things that were most important to them. So give me an example in your life. What are the things that are most important to you, which are your rock?
The safety and security of my family. So I'll be willing to die for the safety and security of my family, and whether that be, into the home, someone's breaking in or something like that. Those are things in which I would be willing to die for. There's very few things outside of that I'll be willing to die for. But I would put myself in a situation, for example, equality for other people, fairness and justice. I'll be willing to put my line for, let's say, an older person who's walking across the street and some guy comes up and grabs their bag and run off. I mean, it's not family, but I would probably do something. I wouldn't allow it to happen. So I would put myself in a position to make it a rock, whereas it's not essentially my rock. So sometimes it changes based on your own character traits.
Okay, so now tell me what water means.
Well, water, again, if you think about the ebbs and flows of life, right? Water sits outside of my rock, and so it acts as a shield. So I can almost like push the waves away, push it away, and it allows me to kind of navigate. Is it really worth it? Is it worth fighting for, or can I send out calm seas? Can I send out, a mist or tsunami or hurricane or something like that in the midst of things to kind of settle things down? So water can have a calming effect, but it also can be a barrage of just confrontation and standing firm. So it depends on how you define your rock. Your rock, no, I'm sorry, the water becomes the ability to shape how you want to deal with the situation, to sit over your rock.
Okay. And so sometimes you'll run into somebody who is acting as rock. They are fighting for something that they believe. They are fighting for something that is very, very important to them. And you, as a response, have to become the water, right? So you have to be moldable, and you can't come back at them with your rock if it's not something that's equally as important. And you were saying that
that's right.
How to communicate is learning the things that you're willing to die for and the things that you're not. So if you're in a situation, like let's say you're in a situation and someone disrespects you. And all of a sudden these boys start to get physical. They start saying things back and forth. They start pushing each other. And the next thing you know, it becomes a fight. How in that situation would you explain rock and water?
Well, it'd be simple. The first response is if a person was attacking me with innuendos and saying things to kind of build themselves up and put me down, I would first verbally say to them that one thing is that's not my rock. What I stand for is this. So this is who I am, and that is not who I am. And so, and that in which I am, if I'm adamant about it, then those are things that I'll be willing to fight for. But by you calling me a loser or skinny this or skinny that those are just verbal barrages of things in which isn't really worth fighting for. It's not my rock. So for me, I receive it as water, and it's almost like the mist of the water spraying and hitting me as I'm on my boat, in a sense. So it's just pushing me and trying to sway me, but I'm on track. I'm on compass. I know that I'm heading due north. So as I'm going through, that person's technically their rock is not really a rock. It's just water in a sense. So I just let it kind of sway me back and forth. It's not important.
Okay.
But I explain to them my rock and let them know that what they're doing is water, and it means absolutely nothing to me at all.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay, I think that's one of those concepts that we're going to talk more and more about. But thank you so much for that introduction about looking at how we feel and what we're willing to fight for and what we're not, where we can be a little bit more flexible, and how to make those decisions. So thank you, Shawn, so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.